My son loves Lord of the Rings, and I've got hold of this Lord of the Rings book. It was fairly cheap to buy, I got it online. And what I'm going to do is make him a unique cover for it. And I've done a very detailed plan of what I want to do. It's very detailed. Most important, do a detailed plan. So I know roughly what I'm going to do. And I've cut my pieces of card out to actually cover this with. Now, if you want to know how I do this, then check out the one where I did Harry Potter book. I'll link that at the end of this video so you can see. Now I'm going to glue these to this card. And then once it's dry, I can start making this cover. And I think from my very detailed plan that I've got here, you're going to love it. Well, I've covered my book, and I've covered it so it goes all the way over. And as you can see, it's got a lovely texture on it. It just does need about another 3 or 4 hours to fully dry before I do the next stage. So I'm going to put that to one side. And now what I'm going to do is my door, because I'm having a Hobbit door in the middle of this, even though it's not the Hobbit, but you'll see why and where the ring and that's going to go. So this is the size of door I'm going to make. I've cut it out of cardboard, and all I'm doing is at this stage gluing on some lolly sticks, and I'm just going to glue them on. I'll cut them afterwards, and again I'm using a bit of wood glue, making sure that I'm covering all the edges, and then I can lay my sticks on like that. And I will put a weight on them as well, because I want them to be really well connected to this. Just lining them up, and it's just easier to do it like this and cut them afterwards than it is to stand here and try and cut them all now. And I'll also put some texture in them to make it look like wood grain. Well, those lolly sticks are glued on there nice and strong now, so they're not going to go anywhere, and all I have to do is cut them out. And what I'm going to do is use the card as my guide, go around them. I mean, if you've got a little jigsaw, a little craft saw or something that you could use, then use that much quicker, but I can't be bothered to get mine out. And now I've got that all cut out and it's nicely attached to there. All I need to do is I'm taking a ball stylus and I'm going to work in there some grain, pushing down quite hard to give it a little bit of wood grain, and then each piece of wood will have that same grain. There we go, like that. And I'll put a knot in different places, and knots are easy to do. I just do half circles in there like that, and then once we paint that, that will really show and come out great. Well, now that the cover's all lovely and dry and the door's all ready to be painted, I'm going to paint them. The cover, I'm going to do different kind of tones of blue with some highlights and some lowlights in it as well. I don't know how well that's going to work out, but we will see. And the whole cover's going to be the same. And then I'm going to varnish it because I want it to have a glossy finish to it. All I'm doing is going over. I'm not doing any special techniques at the moment. All I'm doing is just going over it to give it a complete coverage, just using a mixture of the cerulean blue and ultramarine blue. Well, that's dry now, that coat, and what I'm going to do is give it a colour wash. And all I've done is added some black to this blue, and I'm wiping it over. Very runny indeed, and that is exactly what I want. Now, using a bit of kitchen cloth, I'm going to give that a couple of seconds on there, or about 30 seconds on there. And now all I'm going to do is go on and dab some off, leaving some behind. I'm not trying to clean it right off. There we go, so it looks like that. And I'm going to do that both sides. Now that's dry, what I'm going to do is dry brush over a very light blue. And this is just the cerulean blue that I added some white to. And I'm going to do one of this, and then I'm going to go even lighter for the final one before I let it dry, ready to varnish. And all I do is pop a load on my brush like that, and then go over it. And with a dry brush, that should just pick up and highlight all those areas for me that I want highlighted. So we've got some dark tones and some light tones, and then we'll go even lighter for the next one. Yeah, I like that. And then I'll do the same on the inside cover as well. And that's why I wanted that texture in there, because having that texture in there allows you to do so much more with it. If you don't want the texture, you don't have to do the texture. This would be a great project to do with your kids, I think, on a wet, windy day. Get one of their books that they like and then just give it a makeover. And as that dries, that will darken off slightly, and that's why I want to go over it with another white colour wash. You'll see what I mean when I turn this over. You'll see it's kind of faded in a little bit more. Look. There you go. So with that same paint, I'm just going to add a little bit of white and then do it once more. So what I've done is I've gone through this with a very fine brush, just adding on some of the highlights using a very dark green, because apparently the door should be green. Now they will show up because what I'm going to do is use a much more translucent colour to stain this wood. But they're not going to show up really, really strongly, which is what I want. And then once I've done this, I will then go over with a lighter green and get that door more highlights on it. And the other thing is I want to make a gold ring to go round to represent the Lord of the Rings. And I've had a great idea how to make the ring. So I was thinking of doing it out of paper mache, and then I just thought, well, that's going to be quite difficult to get a nice smooth ring. And you want your ring to be nice and smooth, don't you? Because the last thing you want is a messy, untidy ring. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll show you the next bit. Well, now the door and the book is dry, I'm going to give them a quick coat of varnish. And this is a gloss varnish I'm using here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want a glossy finish, but also it'll help protect the book cover, and it'll help protect the door and anything that I add to it. I'm only giving it one coat, so if there's any misses on it, I'm not bothered, because that will just add to its texture. And this will be dry within about 2 hours, ready to put the rest of the bits on. Now, I want to make a ring to go around this door, and that's going to be a gold ring. So I thought, what can I make it with? So I've actually decided that what I'm going to make it with is some good old UV resin. So all I'm going to do is squeeze in some UV resin in here, put it under my torch, and then I'll show you what it looks like and how I'm going to turn it into the ring. Well, that's all cured now. It didn't take too long to cure, and let's take it out. Yeah, that's ideal. It doesn't matter that it's got a few bubbles in, because it's going to be covered up, and then the ring is going to go around the door like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gild this, because obviously the ring is gold. So I'm going to gild this ring in gold leaf. First of all, what I need to do is add some gilding glue to this. Always use gilding glue as well. It is so much better. I use gilding glue for so many different things, and it is always better than any other glue. The proper glue really makes a difference. And it's not expensive as well, and it works brilliantly with glitters and foils and all sorts of stuff. And you know when it's ready because it goes clear, and once it's clear, it's really sticky, and that gold leaf will stick to it really, really well. Well, that's all nice and dry now, so all I need to do is pop my gold leaf on. And I want to try and be as neat as possible with this, although that is not normally something I'm very good at being, so any gaps you can just fill in, or put a little bit more of the glue over and then go over it again. And all I'm doing is laying this onto the ring. If I can see gaps, then I'm just pushing a bit onto that as well. And now I'm going to take a soft brush like this one and clean it all up like this, just getting it nice and shiny and smooth. Well, now this is all dry, it's time to put it together, and all I'm using here is one of these little knobs that I've got quite a lot of, and I'm going to glue that into the middle of the door because I think it fits really nicely. I'm putting a bit of all-purpose glue on that first, and then I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to eyeball the middle of the door as well. I think it's about there, and let that dry up a little bit, and then add that to it. This will dry clear, so if any has come over it, then that's not a problem. My ring's all finished as well, and I put the runes on. I copied them from the internet, just using a permanent marker, and then put a coat of varnish on it, and I think that ring has come out really well, and it fits over there beautifully. I've also cut out a silhouette on my Cricut, and I'm currently cutting out the title of the book as well. So before I go ahead now and finish all this off, what I've got to do is attach this book to this cover, and then I'm going to put everything else on. And all I'm going to be using is some white glue on this bit. And I'll show you what I mean. Now I want that to be the front. I'm going to stick some white glue all the way over like that. I don't want it to ooze out of the sides, so I am being a little bit careful with it. And you have to be fairly quick because it does dry fairly quick, white glue. Careful not to glue your pages together, which is something that I'm quite capable of doing, because you won't get any wiggle room with this once it's on. I want it on the spine as well, and then all the way across this cover as well. Well, this is all now lovely and dry, and it opens up lovely, and the spine's not been broken, but I'm sure it will get broken at some point. And it fits perfectly perfectly, unlike when I did the Harry Potter one, when I messed it up and didn't get it to fit perfectly. Now all I need to do is attach everything onto here where I want it, and the best thing to do to start with is kind of place it out. So this is the bit where I normally mess up, don't get it level or whatever. Quite happy with that placement. Now I want the title of the book, so The Lord of the Rings, to fall directly under that. Let's push all those down. So now we've got The Lord of the Rings and the other transfer on. That can go there. And I'm going to use good old all-purpose glue again for this. Bit in the middle, running it around, bit on the actual book, put that in. Hold that down for a couple of seconds. And then I'm going to do the same with this ring. And I'm going to leave that about 4 or 5 minutes before I put that on. So it's finished now, but I don't like this. I don't like this silhouette on here. It just doesn't look right to me. So I'm taking that off and I'm going to replace it. But other than that, the book is finished. I love the way the spines come out and the door with the ring around it and the lettering. I just hated that silhouette. So I've decided to go with individual characters that are gold, and I'm going to put those on there. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's completely finished. Yeah, I much prefer that. I think that really stands out a lot more now that it's in gold. And brightens up the book as well. Really pleased with how this has come out. Let me know what you think in the description below. I'd love to know what your comments are. I think anyone would be quite pleased to receive that bespoke Lord of the Rings book, The Fellowship of the Rings, and we've got J.R.R Tolkien there. Please boot that like button if you've enjoyed this project, and if you want to see me do more of this type of stuff, then let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and share this video wherever you can. Links to everything are in the description below. Take care. Enjoy your crafting. Bye.